So the purpose of research design is to answer our research questions. And research questions involve inquiring about a statistical relationship between two or more variables. So we're going to talk about variables and research design today. But I want to point out first that research in general is a cyclical process, as you can see in this graph. And we actually start by usually asking an informal question about something we observe in the real world. And we say, hey, that's curious, let's look into that. And so you look in the previous research first, like maybe your research question's already been answered, or maybe you can narrow it down and make it very more specific or more helpful to add into the literature that already exists on that topic. And then after you kind of look into that previous research, you go back and you design a study, and you actually conduct that experimental study by using one of the three designs that we'll go over today. You then collect all the data that you have on the variables that you're interested in, and you use descriptive statistics to describe those variables. And then you draw a conclusion by using inferential statistics. And then finally, you write up a report, and you add that back into the literature that you started with looking at. So hence, this is a cyclical process. So the first step in conducting an empirical study is to take a sample from your population. Now, the population is everybody that you're interested in your study. So who are you wanting to draw conclusions about? This can be everybody in the world, all the humans that live on the world. It could be all the chocolate in a factory. It could be all the cities in the US. So it could be a lot of different things, not just people. But usually in psychology, that's what we're most interested in, is people. And then our sample comes from just taking a little slice of that population and putting that into our study. So we actually collect data only on our sample, because it's really hard to collect data on the entire population. So for example, if my population of interest is everybody in the world, I might take 140 participants that I get from online. I could also have a population of all the chocolate in the chocolate factory, but I don't want to eat a bite out of every chocolate bar. And so I take 5 chocolate bars and I quality control for those 5. And I assume because those 5 are okay, that the rest of the population of chocolate bars in that batch are okay as well. So let's take a moment to review variables. So a variable is any quantity or quality that varies across people or situations. Now, typically in a study, you'll see at least 2 variables. There could be more. And typically, we think of these 2 variables as being independent or dependent variables. Now, an independent variable is thought to cause the change in the dependent variable, and that's very important. So further, independent and dependent variables can have 2 different classifications depending on how you measure it. So if you measure the variable on a continuous scale and it produces a number or a score, then that means it's a continuous variable. So this could be a score on a questionnaire, a test score. It could even be your height or your weight or the gas mileage of your car. Categorical variables, on the other hand, they create groups. So for example, these are typically usually word variables, and they include things like eye color, your nationality, what's your job title, what's your major in college, those types of things. Now, one last thing about variables is that variables should be distinguished from the level of the variable. So for example, the variable of biological sex has 2 levels, male or female. And eye color can have, let's say, 4 levels, where you have brown, blue, green, or hazel. Continuous variables also have levels, but they can have an infinite amount. So you can have a shyness score anywhere from 0 to 40 and anywhere in between there.